It's a night of dominating pitchers on ESPN2. Curt Schilling makes his home debut after an impressive first start for his new team on Friday. He and the D-backs go toe-to-toe with four-time Cy Young winner Greg Maddux in a possible playoff preview. And no more in the Red Sox. Look to two-time Cy Young winner Pedro Martinez to try to shut down A-Rod and the first-place M's in Seattle. Can either team win in 9 innings? There's the man everybody's talking about, Curt Schilling, getting ready to impress the home folks. Most of you will see Schilling and the Diamondbacks host the Atlanta Braves, while some of you will see Edgar Martinez, the big league leader in RBIs. He's stuck on 99. The Mariners and Red Sox also coming up. Welcome back to our ESPN2 Wednesday Night Baseball studios. I'm Steve Levy, and what do you say we go for a nightcap? What a nightcap it'll be as the Braves and Diamondbacks will go at it. But first, this afternoon, the Giants put the Diamondbacks in position to get in the first place. Raul Casanova, that drive into the corner. So the Giants fall to the Brewers 6-4. Jeff Kent has only 2 RBIs in the last 12 games. The Dodgers are 12-5 in their last 17. The Mets go 8-1 on their homestand. And Sammy hits his 33rd. It's the game winner in the Cubs' victory. To the American League now, the Blue Jays and the A's. Bottom of the 4th, Eric Chavez had himself a ball game. Oakland had a 2-1 lead, make it 4-1. Get out of town off Chris Carpenter. It's a 2-run shot. Chavez is 15th. Bottom of the 8th, we pick it up. We're tied at 4. Here's Chavez again. Not a home run, but this will have to do. A soft single to center. Miguel Tejada would score. The A's go up 5-4, and that would be your final. All of a sudden, the Blue Jays have lost 6 straight games. Elsewhere, the Royals and their 5-game skid, they win in New York. The Twins pounded out 14 hits after being 1 hit by Mike Mussina yesterday. Now stay tuned for great Major League Baseball action. Coming up next, one of the more highly anticipated pitching matchups of the season. Curt Schilling, Greg Maddux on the way.
The hometown kid has returned. Curt Schilling, who spent 13 years living in Phoenix, is now back as a member of the Diamondbacks, and what a boost he is going to give this Arizona rotation. He's already won once on the road, but look at who the visitors have brought to town tonight. Oh, all Greg Maddux has done is won 4 Cy Young Awards. What a pitching matchup it is here tonight, and what a big game for both teams. The Atlanta Braves are now 5 up on the Mets after Al Leiter pitched the Mets to a victory over the Reds today. San Francisco lost in Milwaukee earlier this afternoon, so the Diamondbacks are a half game out of first place. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez with you. Schilling and Maddux, it doesn't get much better than that. And what a boost Curt Schilling has given and will give this Arizona team.
Well, it sure will, Dan. And the crowd gave him a great round of applause when he made his way down to the dugout after warming up. Curt Schilling gives the Arizona Diamondbacks the best 1-2 punch in all of baseball. Now they have the strikeout kings in the major leagues for 7 of the last 8 seasons. Schilling and Randy Johnson are a dynamic duo that should pitch this team to the postseason. Schilling's overpowering. He's pitching well right now. In his last 9 games, he's 6-2 with a 1.90 ERA. He's anxious to pitch here in front of his hometown crowd.
It's not often a guy who's won 4 Cy Youngs can sneak into town, but Greg Maddux is in that situation tonight.
Well, he sure is. He's kind of downplaying the matchup. He says, you know what, I just go about my business. And the big thing about Greg Maddux is you know you're going to get 100% every single night. These two pitchers are very similar in the way they prepare. They know how to get set up for this team. Maddux has never beaten the Diamondbacks. It's a great pitching matchup tonight.
And a look at the starting lineup tonight for the Atlanta Braves. Rafael Furcal, the 19-year-old speedster, will lead it off. Chipper Jones has the big numbers against Curt Schilling. Wally Joyner steps in for Andres Galarraga because Galarraga has awful numbers against Schilling. Brian Jordan, the game-winning home run. B.J. Surhoff, the new Brave. A pretty tough lineup that the Atlanta Braves bring to town against Curt Schilling, who is raring to go. Pitched the Diamondbacks to a win in Florida on Friday night. And he jumps out in front of Rafael Furcal to start. Schilling was born in Anchorage, Alaska. His dad was in the military. The family moved around a lot. They settled here in Phoenix when Curt was 5 years of age, and they stayed here right through his high school years. Shadow Mountain High, about 8 miles north of here. And then Schilling attended a junior college in the state of Arizona as well, at Yavapai College. Said he didn't dream of pitching for a team in Arizona because he never thought there would be a major league team in Arizona.
Well, they've got one now, and they're thrilled to have Curt Schilling. This is his 18th start of the season, the second with the Diamondbacks. And look at the strikeouts, 101 strikeouts. He is back to 100%, throwing that hard 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And there he goes, the right count for the first strikeout. 94 miles an hour, and Schilling has pleased the hometown fans. He has talked about his velocity getting better and better all the time, and the big thing about it is when he is coming back off the surgery as he is, his strength will get better with every outing, and you can see that now. As I mentioned, his last 9 starts, he's 6-2.
So 3 pitches in, a strikeout for Curt Schilling, and here's Andrew Jones putting together a big season. First pitch swinging, ground ball to the right side, and it eats up Jay Bell.
Jay Bell let that ball play him a little bit. That ball was not that tough a play. He played it off to the side. It may have kicked the lip of grass right to the side of Jay Bell. Got a good break on it. Looked like it was going to be a routine play for him. Watch as he goes to his left here, and he's got to make that play. That ball just stayed down, skipped under his glove. It has been scored in air, and rightly so.
Defense on the right side of the diamond, on the right side of the infield specifically, has been a problem for the Diamondbacks at times this season. Bell not blessed with a great range, couldn't make the play there. And here's Chipper Jones. He drives the first pitch to left field. Back goes Gonzalez, and he's got room for the second out. Back to first goes Andrew Jones.
Now let's take a look at the Diamondbacks defensively. Gonzalez, Finley, and Conti in the outfield. Luis Gonzalez is a remarkable player, been steady all year long when his team has really need steadying influence in the outfield. And he is one guy that has been able to swing the bat effectively all year long.
Wally Joyner is the batter, takes a little bit outside for ball 1. It has been a big week for Joyner. Picked up his 200th career homer a few days ago, and last night career hit number 2,000. Nice milestone for a guy who broke in back in 1986, and actually, Buck, his best 2 years were his first 2 years. But he has gone on, while never duplicating those power numbers, he's gone on to have a nice 15-year career.
Yeah, he's a great pickup for this Braves ball club, and he has really proved his value the last week. Galarraga went down with that thumb injury. Wally Joyner stepped right in and came up with some big hits, including some big home runs. And there's Galarraga with that thumb taped up. He fell down, sprained the thumb. Played last night, but tonight didn't have great numbers against Schilling, so Joyner gets the call.
2-1 the count, and Schilling will check on Andrew Jones.
That's good news and bad news for Wally Joyner. You're getting a start tonight. The bad news is it's Curt Schilling.
Schilling has already faced the Braves 3 times this season, 2-0 with a 1.64 ERA. And he figures to face them 3 more times. The Diamondbacks have 3 more series left with the Braves, and the Diamondbacks, as you might expect, are going to take advantage of every off day they have. And Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling are going to start more than 2 out of every 5 games the rest of the way.
Yeah, Buck Showalter is going to make sure that you run those 2 guys out there every 5th day and just plug them in whenever you can. What a complimentary 1-2 punch, lefty and righty, that can rack up the strikeouts.
Now, you said before the game that unquestionably the best 1-2 punch in baseball, Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. You've got Maddux and Glavine in the building.
Yeah.
They're second now in 1-2 punches.
I think so, for just the ability to go out and dominate a game at this point. I mean, obviously, you're going to get a lot of controversy about that because of the postseason record of Glavine and Maddux.
2-2 to Joyner. Miller couldn't squeeze it.
I mean, if you're going to pick one guy to pitch one game and everything is on the line, it's either going to be a guy like Schilling or it's going to be Randy Johnson. I mean, for me, it's Randy Johnson right now.
Got his game face on.
Yeah, he is not really pitching that well right now, but boy, I tell you what, Buck Showalter knows that he can get it cranked up any time and string together a whole bunch of W's.
already 15 wins on the season. Joyner pokes it the other way, but right into Gonzalez, and Curt Schilling's first inning here as a member of the Diamondbacks is over. The error and nothing further. Greg Maddux to take the mound for the Braves. When do we come back? Back in Phoenix for the bottom of the first inning. No score between the Braves and the Diamondbacks. Greg Maddux taking the mound against Buck Showalter's Arizona Diamondbacks. They have fallen out of first place. They are not hitting the ball at all right now. So Curt Schilling improves the pitching, but the pitching was already the strength. This is where they have struggled. Only 16 hits in their last 4 games. One of the few hot guys for the Diamondbacks is Luis Gonzalez, who, as you can see, had a great week last week, winning the National League Player of the Week award for the second time this season. They're going to give Alex Cabrera an extended look at first base, a young player with mammoth power. See what he can do, because they just need to find a spark offensively. And it won't be easy against this guy, Greg Maddux, although he is not pitching as well the last few weeks as he normally does. He is still 12-5. He has won 4 Cy Young awards. Started with the Cubs, came over to the Braves in 1993. And whereas Randy Johnson or Curt Schilling will dominate you, this guy will kill you softly, but he'll kill you just the same.
Well, he's lost his last 2 starts against the Mets and the Marlins, but he's 12-5 on the season. This is his 24th start of the season.
Makes a nice play out near the mound, and one other item on Greg Maddux. He has won 10 consecutive Gold Gloves, and we see early evidence of that.
Well, he's another infielder on the mound, and he's going to help himself out very often. Look at the walks. Just 32 walks and 123 strikeouts. Now, mind you, he's not a power pitcher like Schilling, but he'll strike you out because he sets you up and puts you away with a changeup or that sinking fastball. Sinking fastball, little slide, and a great changeup, and it's a pretty simple approach, but Maddux takes it to the perfection level with his preparation and his command.
Jay Bell is the batter, the Arizona second baseman. Buck Showalter sat Bell down for a few days last week. He has been one of the many Arizona hitters who have been struggling. He's hitting about $175 over the last month, and is nowhere close to duplicating his numbers from last year, which were career numbers by a wide margin. It's one of the reasons, Buck, the Diamondbacks were so good last year. Matt Williams had a career year. Jay Bell, Steve Finley, Luis Gonzalez, and only Gonzalez and Finley are approaching those numbers this year.
Now, they got a big boost second half of the season from Euribiel Durazo, and Durazo had wrist surgery. He's back in the minor leagues trying to find his stroke. And Matt Williams, 2 injuries this year, and he's not been able to get anything going. The consistency really hurting him. Starting to feel a little bit better. They need Matt Williams or Jay Bell to get hot to add to the offense.
Maddux out in front of Bell, a ball and 2 strikes. Tries to paint the outside corner, and a swing and a miss by Bell, 2 down.
When he tries to paint it, he generally does a masterpiece. Defensively behind Maddux, they have committed 80 errors on the season, but they're always on their toes because Maddux is always around the plate. Last night, last out of the ball game, the right fielder Brian Jordan, playing for the first time, contributes a home run and then makes a diving catch into foul territory for the final out of the ball game. Bobby Cox is thrilled to have Brian Jordan back in. He's not had a good year offensively, but he's been banged up a little bit, and now starting to swing the bat a little better.
Here is Luis Gonzalez with 2 outs and nobody on. Gonzalez, as we mentioned, is one of the guys on the Arizona team having a big year, hitting for average and power, and he has some very good numbers against Greg Maddux. In his career, Gonzalez has hit 5 home runs off Maddux, including Buck. The first 2 home runs he hit in his big league career, and they both came in the same game, as you can see, over 9 years ago. And you know, Maddux remembers that. Maddux was already an established star at that point. And I asked Gonzalez before the game, does he remember what he hit? What was he looking for? He said, I was just up in the majors. I was looking for the ball and trying to swing at it. And he said he hasn't really changed his approach against Maddux all these years later.
Well, Maddux will just throw you so many different looks. He'll work the corners. He adds velocity, takes velocity off.
And that was Gonzalez's point. You can't really guess with him. He's the master, so you may as well just see ball, hit ball.
Well, there was an article that you and I both read talking about Maddux and what he thinks about. And he says, is there ever a batter that's better prepared than you are in a head-to-head matchup? And he flatly said never.
Not lacking in confidence, and with good reason. Slapped the other way. A base hit for Gonzalez.
Well, Maddux will replay that base hit in his mind and question himself whether or not he gets it in the right spot. This ball is inside, and watch the movement. A little bit of movement back out over the plate. You can see it stayed up a little bit. He got underneath the ball, and because of that, it stayed flat on the plane of the bat and didn't dip enough to create Gonzalez to swing over the top of it. That was just a running fastball and not a real good sinking fastball.
So a runner at first with 2 down, and here's Matt Williams. As Buck mentioned, starting to feel better, starting to heat up a little bit. Williams broke a bone in his right foot, his back foot, hitting a foul ball off that foot back in the spring. And then while he was out rehabbing the injury in the minors, strained his quad, tried to play through it, went back on the DL, and then came back off the DL, although he's still not 100%. Pitch out, but nothing doing. A guy who drove in 142 runs last year has 12 this year because of the injuries. But what a gaping hole that leaves in the Arizona offense.
Well, Bobby Cox with the signs in the dugout called for the pitch out on the first pitch, and it's a good guess because the Diamondbacks have struggled so much trying to score runs. Showalter might want to start the runner and try to open up a hole, get something going.
And he does. Grounded down to third. Jones will make the play to retire Matt Williams and end the inning. Diamondbacks get a hit but nothing more. No score between Maddux and Schilling, the Braves and the Diamondbacks through an inning. Curt Schilling to face Brian Jordan to lead off the second inning, and on the first pitch he sees, Jordan rams it up the middle, a base hit. Last night had a huge game with a home run and a great catch. Now a base hit tonight, and all those physical problems, the shoulder, the knees, the elbow, looks like he's starting to put them behind him.
Well, these hitters can be expecting first pitch strikes from most of these pitchers, and that was a fastball down out over the plate. Brian Jordan just looked like he was looking for a first pitch fastball and jumped on the first pitch from Schilling.
Now Schilling to face B.J. Surhoff in just his second game as an Atlanta Brave. Those are his numbers from his Baltimore days. He was acquired literally at the strike of 4 on Monday, the trade deadline. He thought he was going to go through the deadline unscathed, and quite candidly, he hoped he wasn't going to be traded, even though the Orioles aren't a contending team this year. Atlanta needing some help offensively out at left field with Reggie Sanders struggling and now hurt, and Bobby Bonilla the other option out there. Surhoff definitely is an upgrade, but as he told us before the game, the trade ripped his heart out. Those are his words. Bobby Bonilla now relegated to more of a pinch hitting role.
Well, there was a lot of speculation around Baltimore that B.J. Surhoff was going to end up in a Yankee uniform. The Yankees were in need of a left fielder. And when that didn't happen, he kind of relaxed and forgot about the possibility of being traded. And then at 4 o'clock, even after the deadline, he was notified that he had been dealt to Atlanta. And you know what? Fans might think, well, what's the problem? B.J. leaves Baltimore and he comes to the Braves who go to the World Series every year. He's got to be happy about that, but there's more to it than that. B.J. is a very serious guy, and he moved from Milwaukee, his first team. He spent 9 years with the Brewers. Then he moves his family to Baltimore, falls in love with the town. Fans treat him great. He and his family love it there. And he just wasn't expecting to be dealt.
He's also, and this is something he doesn't talk about all that often, but he's also got a son, an 8-year-old son, who has a form of autism, who has really had a lot of success and made a lot of progress in a program in Baltimore. And the family obviously is hesitant to move him, and I don't believe they are going to move him from there. So now for the first time, he'll be playing in a different city from where his family lives. And that's the kind of situation that you just assume, well, ball players don't have to deal with things. Well, that's a very real life situation that B.J. Surhoff is having to deal with. Made his debut as a Brave last night. He got in the hole 0-2. Worked the count to 3-2, and then this has to feel good. First time up, he smokes a double.
Well, that tells you all you need to know about B.J. Surhoff, the emotions of dealing with the trade, leaving his family in the middle of the season, getting behind in the count, and he battles and gets his double on the 3-2 pitch.
1-2 from Schilling. Ground ball through the right side, a base hit. Jordan the turn at second. Here's the throw to third. Jordan in a head first slide is out.
Jason Conti, Brian Jordan on the base hit. Watch him go around second. He looks at the right fielder, and then a little bit of a hesitation as he makes the turn around second, and a strike on the fly to Matt Williams, and Jordan is gunned down.
Conti just recalled a couple of days ago when the Diamondbacks sent down a Rubio Durazo, making his presence felt as he throws out a pretty quick and a very aggressive base runner in Brian Jordan. And instead of first and third, nobody out facing Schilling, it's a runner at first, one out for Keith Lockhart.
Talk about the emotions that Curt Schilling brings to this club. He gets a little emotional boost from his young right fielder. After giving up 2 hits in the inning, he's got a runner at first base and 1 out. Double play gets him out of the inning.
Conti is one of 8 players that the Diamondbacks have used out in right field. That's been one of the positions that has been unsettled this year. Travis Lee got a lot of time there before the trade to Philadelphia. Danny Batista, Bernard Gilkey, who's now with the Boston, Turner Ward, who's hurt, but Buck Showalter, and the Diamondbacks dug down to the minors to get a guy who runs well, fields his position well. Ball poked to short, bobbled by Womack, and everybody is safe.
Womack got ahead of himself a little bit. He was thinking about 2, and that was going to be a difficult play to turn 2 on because he had to go to the hole. He was charged with an error here. You see the backhand grab. He was already starting to turn his body to throw to second, then the bobble, but the throw to first is not in time as Lockhart hustled down the line to beat it out.
So Schilling gets a good defensive play from his right fielder Conti, but already 2 errors on the infield tonight, 1 by Bell and 1 by Womack. And now the batter is Paul Bacco, the recently acquired catcher. He'll back up Javi Lopez the rest of the way. Fernando Lunar, who had been the backup, was traded to the Orioles. Eddie Perez is out for the season. Bacco coming on waivers from the Marlins. And the crowd not really loving the strike zone right now. Schilling falls behind 2-0.
Javi Lopez gets the night off with Maddux on the mound. Lopez has been red hot with the bat.
At 400 in the month of July. And a tapper, Schilling. Got him for the second out as the runners advance to second and third.
Now you have the real head-to-head matchup. Schilling on the mound, Maddux at the plate with 2 runners on. This is when pride is really on the line. Both these guys are pretty good hitters.
Yeah, they are. Maddux on the season hitting 191. These Atlanta pitchers place almost as much importance in hitting, golfing, even shagging flies during BP yesterday. You should have seen the competition. You should have seen Greg Maddux going after fly balls during BP yesterday. Most pitchers, most position players kind of stand around, and if one gets near him, they might make a play for it. He's running down balls in the gap.
But if you think about it, that's how he can get his conditioning in, by playing hard and enjoying himself and doing his work at the same time.
Schilling out in front 0-1. 2 in scoring position. Ground ball on the infield. Williams has to wait. Inning over. So 2 hits and an error, but the Braves don't score, in part because of Conti's throw from right field. Here in Arizona, no score between the Braves and the Diamondbacks. Second inning. You'll get a chance to see the Atlanta Braves again on a Sunday night of baseball over on ESPN. The Joneses, Andrew and Chipper, lead the Braves into Busch to take on a Jim Edmonds and the first place Cardinals as the playoff races heat up. Across the major leagues, Jim Edmonds with a couple of home runs today. St. Louis defeating Montreal by a score of 10-7. The scheduled pitching matchup on Sunday, as we understand it, will be Kevin Millwood for Atlanta and Darryl Kyle for St. Louis. Kyle threw a shutout his last time out. He's got 13 wins on the season.
Only the second shutout for the Cardinals. Garrett Stevenson has the other, but those starters have done a good job keeping the Cardinals out in front.
Here's Steve Finley to lead off the bottom of the second against Maddux. Takes a strike. 1-1 the count. Finley having another big power year with 27 homers and 75 RBIs. The growing number of players in the majors who seem to be peaking in their low to mid 30s instead of their late 20s. Finley was never a big power hitter in his mid to late 20s, but here he is now into his mid 30s with huge power numbers the last 5 years. You never used to see this kind of thing, but now it's the norm.
I think the biggest thing about it is players are starting to understand more about the dynamics of hitting home runs. They've got the lighter bats. They're in much better shape. They work out year round. Steve Finley told me at the All-Star game that he has a trainer, and they don't lift heavy weights, but they emphasize flexibility and explosive strength. And because of that, he's been able to be a lot quicker. He's a lot healthier later on in the season, and he can put up those good numbers.
2-2 chopped over the head of Maddux out to the shortstop for Kyle. And dug out nicely by Jonah for the first out. As we go back to the studio, Steve Levy's got an update.
Dan, thank you. Zima takes us to Seattle. The Red Sox trying to avoid 19-inning ballgame. With Pedro Martinez on the mound, they get him some offense and some runs to work with. Nomar Garciaparra, a 2-run double. Jason Varitek would follow that with a 2-run double of his own. So Pedro's pitching already with a 4-0 lead. Dan and Buck.
I know you watched all 19 innings from the studio last night.
Well, the big thing about it, I don't understand how Garciaparra can continue to hit so effectively. Pitchers are pitching to them without Carl Everett in the lineup. And I'd pitch around him every chance I get.
Yankees lost Kansas City today. If Boston wins, they'll move within 3 of first in the American League East. Here's the first baseman, Alex Cabrera, and it looks like the Diamondbacks are going to give this young slugger a chance to show his stuff. They called him up from Double-A last month, and in Double-A, if you can believe it, in 53 games he hit 35 home runs, and he's already hit a number of balls off the scoreboard in distant center field here at the Bob during batting practice. And he's the one guy that when you walk by on the field, you turn and you say, wow, is he big.
You see the 2 dents on the scoreboard high above center field, and he put on some exhibition during batting practice. But Greg Maddux wasn't throwing batting practice.
It's another one of these discoveries that the Diamondbacks have made. Durazo, who had such a huge impact last year, was signed out of Mexico. Geraldo Guzman, who is in their rotation, was a carpenter for 7 years before getting a chance to get it back in. Byung-Hyun Kim from Korea, who's now back in the minors. Down and away, 2-2. And Cabrera was in the Cub organization, was released, played in Mexico, played in Taiwan, and then the Diamondbacks signed him, sent him to the minors, and another guy who's got a chance to be a really key player the next couple of months.
He was actually in spring training with them this year. That was part of his signing package. Chases that sinking fastball, but he had back surgery in the offseason. He wasn't 100%. And he didn't really pass their physical, but they kept him around. Obviously, you can see physically he's quite an impressive individual, and they thought, you know what, let's just keep him around. And they kept him around in AAA so he would provide protection for some of their younger hitters. Eventually, they were providing protection for him.
Off speed, and Cabrera strikes out, 2 down.
They didn't do that in Double-A. That breaking ball inside that backs the hitters off the plate, and then Maddux catches the inside corner. I mean, he really worked over this young hitter, and he threw pitches down and away, threw him some off-speed pitches, and polishes them off right in there with that breaking ball. Just on the inside corner.
Second strikeout for Maddux, and with 2 outs and nobody on, it'll be the right fielder Jason Conti, the guy who threw out Brian Jordan at third base earlier tonight. turnover on this Arizona team this year for a team that's been in first place most of the year. And right now it's just a half game out. They've had their fair share of injuries to deal with this year, but they've also had quite a shuttle between the big club and AAA, just trying to find some hot hands. Maddux off the mound to make the play and to get a contact as the inning comes to a close. No score through 2 in Phoenix.
ESPN2's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Quest, the communications to change everything.
And back in a beautiful Phoenix for the top of the 3rd inning. Only 109 degrees outside today. Mercifully, the roof has been kept closed tonight. Curt Schilling on the mound, his first start in one of his hometowns, but the town he spent most of his childhood in. Phoenix, from the age of 5 through high school and then junior college again in the state of Arizona. His second start with the Diamondbacks, one in Florida Friday night. 8 innings, 1 run. As Furcal takes a strike, 1-1, and back to the top of the order for the Braves here in the 3rd. Well, what an impressive young player Furcal has turned into. Up from A-ball last year, and he'll do a lot of that. He can drop the bunt down. He's got explosive speed, a switch hitter with more patience from a young player than you might expect.
Well, you'll remember Bobby Cox's comments in spring training when he decided to take Furcal north with him. He said, well, we hope to get him about 200 at-bats and try to just break him in very slowly to make sure he doesn't get overmatched. Here he is leading off every day for them and really doing a job, and only a hamstring problem has caused him to miss some time. But Bobby believes that maybe his best position is second base. He thinks he can really play second base, but he's got a cannon for an arm, and right now they're utilizing him every day at shortstop.
And he'll try to bunt his way aboard and strike out. Nice grab. Looking to make somebody happy with a souvenir. How about a Furcal trying to bunt his way aboard with 2 strikes?
Well, he's a leadoff guy. He's supposed to get on base, but they might have a talk to him about that. He's got a little pop in his bat. Give him a better chance if he's swinging.
Andrew Jones, the batter, reached on an error back in the 1st inning. As Schilling just misses the outside corner, 1-0.
The Braves scouted Schilling in his last start and picked up on the fact that he had thrown a lot of sliders and splitters first pitch. And there's another slider, base it up the middle.
Jones on the base for the 2nd time tonight. Now for Curt Schilling, you have to imagine a lot of emotion for him tonight, but he's going to turn that into a positive.
I feed off of crowds and people and fans, and yelling good or bad gets me going, and you know, I have a feeling it'll be somewhat loud tomorrow. I don't know if Arizona loud compares to loud anywhere else, but I do know there'll be a lot of people here because these guys draw a lot of fans, and they're expecting to see a win, and that's what they're paying me for. I'm going out against the guy that's won 4 Cy Young awards, so the challenge is definitely there.
And a challenge at the plate as well in Chipper Jones, who flied out to left field his first time up.
You can't play all of those years and not be affected by the crowd. He played in Philadelphia.
Sure.
World Series in 1993. This is the first time he's been in a pennant race since '93.
And what we should remember is that Schilling, in a sense, controlled his own destiny. He had a no-trade clause with the Phillies and a list of 6 teams to which he would consent to be traded. The Diamondbacks, one of those teams, and when they came up with an offer that the Phillies liked, 4 players, Buck Showalter and Joe Garagiola Jr., the GM, said, let's go for it. This team needs a spark. And imagine the prospects, if the Diamondbacks make the playoffs, of potentially facing Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling 4 times in a best of 5 or 5 times in a best of 7.
I haven't seen a good Schilling fastball yet tonight. I don't know if he is trying to give the Braves a different look first time around, trying to throw them off guard a little bit, but I really haven't seen that good fastball that he had last time out against the Marlins.
He was consistently at 94, 95 against Florida on Friday. Ground ball to the right side. Cabrera, one, and not in time for the double play.
Cabrera came a long way off the first base bag to glove that ball. Kind of a deliberate throw to second base, but I don't think they were going to get Chipper Jones on a double play anyway. Take a look at the big first baseman breaking off the bag, gloving the ball, very deliberate with his throw to second base, and the relay from Womack not in time. Here's the throw. He makes a pretty good throw on it. Womack on the shortstop side of the bag, but the return to Schilling is not in time to double up Chipper.
So he reaches on the fielder's choice, and with 2 outs, it'll get Wally Joyner to the plate. A scoreless game in the 3rd inning. No real surprise considering Curt Schilling and Greg Maddux are the starters here tonight. Upstairs for ball 1.
Yeah, he's trying to get them to swing at that first pitch, an off-speed pitch. Brian Jordan hit a first pitch fastball his first time up to lead off the 2nd inning, but he's throwing a lot of off-speed pitch, a lot of sliders and splitters and changeups on the first pitch.
Joyner lifts a lazy fly ball into left field, and the inning is over. 3 shutout innings for Schilling. No score here in Phoenix.
8 innings, Curt Schilling and Mark Connor talking in a dugout, and I'm sure this is Schilling telling Connor, okay, this is what my game plan is. He's really pitched a lot differently than he did last time out, using a lot more sliders and off-speed pitches early in the ball game. So I'm sure Mark Connor went to him and said, hey, just tell me what you're thinking right here so they can gather as much information about Curt Schilling as possible. This is only his 2nd start with his new team.
Damian Miller, the catcher, leads off the bottom of the 3rd. The crowd didn't like that at all as Maddux gets a call on the outside of corner 1-1. And there again 1-2. And you remember the controversy a few weeks back over the Atlanta catchers setting up too far outside beyond the catcher's box, and so when they don't have to move a lot to catch the pitch, it gives the pitch the appearance of being better than it actually is, and it's actually a violation if that right foot there slides outside the catcher's box. And what people will complain about is that it's not enforced all the time.
Yeah, and it's really an important factor for the Braves pitchers because they work off the plate so much. And here the breaking ball is down and away, and Miller chases it. You can see Baco's got that right foot probably outside that catcher's box.
Now Schilling with his first at bat of the night. Not only did he pitch well against the Marlins on Friday, he did a great job with the bat. He had a double and a couple of sacrifices. And like Maddux, an average pretty close to 200. They'll make Maddux make a play on him, and Maddux will with ease. 2 down. The NFL returns to ESPN Saturday night just before 10 o'clock, 9:56 Eastern time to be exact, from Tokyo, as Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys take on the Atlanta Falcons. Coverage begins at 9 Eastern with Chris Berman and the NFL Tonight. We talked about how Maddux kind of slid into town with all the hype surrounding Schilling, and he's the quiet guy and has the bookish look about him, but you know he would love to upstage Curt Schilling here tonight.
Well, he sure would. He's never beaten this Diamondback team, and he would love to crank up a gem tonight. He's lost his last 2 starts, so that's another reason for motivation for Schilling. I mean, excuse me, for Maddux against Schilling.
He's off to a great start. Once through the order, the Diamondbacks have just a Luis Gonzalez base hit between 3rd and short. Of the 8 outs that Maddux have recorded, 3 of them have been strikeouts, and 5 of them have been groundouts. And even the Gonzalez base hit was a roller, so the Diamondbacks haven't really been able to get the ball in the air at all here tonight. Womack takes a strike. It's 2-1. Womack hitting .267, 6 homers, 38 RBIs. The shortstop turned to second baseman, turned right fielder, turned to shortstop again. hasn't played this position regularly in several years until this season. We've already seen a Womack error here tonight. Also doesn't draw a whole lot of walks, which as a leadoff hitter you'd love to see to let him get on a base. He's walked only 16 times, Buck, the entire season.
Well, coming into this game, this series, the Braves had 71 walks in their leadoff spot. That's a dramatic difference. That's why Buck Showalter's team has struggled mightily to score runs.
Once he gets on, he's got a blazing speed, but hasn't been able to get on enough. Three-2 from Maddux. Ripped foul down the right side.
You know what? We've got two of the best pitchers in baseball here tonight. Their styles are contrasting. Maddux with a lot of movement and changes velocity on his fastball, his breaking ball, and his changeup. Schilling, the other hand, is a power guy, and we've not seen that power yet tonight, but they're both so well prepared. They study hitters. They look at video. Maddux watched the game last night from the clubhouse to watch the Diamondbacks. There's Schilling's notebook. He was sitting in the locker room, in his locker, watching his laptop CD player, going over the Diamondbacks. And here he's reading the next few batters in the lineup to remind himself what he wants to do.
Now there's the 17th walk for Womack this season, as he has a good at-bat against Maddux.
But my point about Maddux and Schilling is these guys aren't accidents. I mean, there are guys that may have equally as good a stuff. Their physical talent might be better, but no one is as well prepared as these two guys when they get ready for a start.
And whereas Maddux may always have been like that, Schilling will tell you he didn't become an ace, a star, until he did two things: take better care of his body and prepare more. Study hitters more, learn more about them instead of just relying on the God-given ability to throw a fastball 96 miles an hour.
Well, that's the difference between he and Maddux, because Maddux never threw it 96, so he had to study and learn and pitch all the while.
Maddux keeps a close eye on Womack, who has led the league in steals each of the last 3 seasons. Jay Bell is the batter. Womack with as many as 72 stolen bases in a season. The Diamondbacks desperately need to get out of his slump. Jay Bell, the batter, with a Womack, trying to gain an advantage on Maddux and Baco. There he goes. And in there safely with his 22nd steal of the season is Tony Womack.
You can hear the response of the fans. They know how important Womack stealing second is to this team. He got a good jump off Maddux. You can see he got a good jump as Maddux made his first move. Tough pitch for Baco. He hangs with it, digs it out, makes a good throw, but Womack just got too good a jump at first.
Runner at second, 2 down, and a 1-1 count on Jay Bell. Lines the ball into right center field. Womack will come in to score. Bell chugging for second. Beats the throw, and the RBI double gives Arizona a 1-0 lead.
There's that combination they're used to here in Arizona. Womack with a walk, a steal. Jay Bell with an RBI double. He goes with the outside pitch. You can see it's down. His head stays on it, and he drives it up the gap in right center. Womack around third, scores easily. A good throw to second base. Jay Bell hustling all the while, trying to get himself into scoring position. Beats the Andrews-Jones throw into second.
And the Diamondbacks have the lead on Maddux here in the 3rd inning. It was a pitcher's duel last night between Kevin Millwood and Armando Reynoso into the late innings. Millwood had a perfect game into the 5th. Nobody scored for either side until the 7th. Atlanta eventually winning it 4-2. There's Luis Gonzalez, a base hit, his first time up.
Gonzalez uses the whole field. Andrew Jones is shifted over to the left field side of center. That suggests that Maddux is going to work Gonzalez away. A big gap in right center. Now Maddux didn't like the pitch selection he got from his catcher, so he calls him out, and you see the rest of the defense. They're pitching Gonzalez away.
And Baco just picked up from the Marlins last week, just really getting to know Greg Maddux, and I would imagine there are a few who are as precise in the kind of game they want called as Greg Maddux is.
Yeah, and this is the second personal catcher that Maddux has had other than Javi Lopez, because Lunar was doing the catching, and then Baco, when he joined the club, has caught Maddux.
Maddux twice has gone for the inside corner and twice hasn't gotten the call.
Well, that's a little interesting to me, because the defense suggests that they're going to pitch him away, but Maddux goes inside, just misses the inside corner. If Gonzalez turns on that ball, there's a big gap in right center.
Appeal, he didn't go. 3 balls, no strikes. And Maddux with a long look down at Paul Emmel, the third base umpire, on that. There's been so little offense here in Arizona that this constitutes a big-time rally. Now they're just going to put Gonzalez on and pitch to Matt Williams. You can hear how into it the crowd is right now with Maddux on the mound, and with this team struggling so badly to score runs. They're trying to seize the moment here.
Now this is a potential playoff matchup with these two guys. Now look at the defense difference here. With the right-hander Matt Williams, Andrew Jones goes back on the right field side of center. And there's Brian Jordan back more straight away in right. There is a gap now in left center.
So as you would expect, Maddux goes away on Matt Williams, but he misses low and away for ball 1.
In general, the Atlanta Braves will pitch away. They're going to make you hit their pitch outside until they feel that a hitter is making an adjustment. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, said, you know what, it's hard to hit that pitch down and away. Goes there again.
A 1-0 Arizona lead over Atlanta, bottom of the third. Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez with you at Bank One Ballpark, the Bob here in Phoenix, for the second game of this 3-game series. And what a pitching matchup tonight. A 4-time Cy Young Award winner Greg Maddux for Atlanta, and a Curt Schilling in his home debut as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have a run in this inning on Jay Bell's double. Bell's at second, and Gonzalez at first with 2 down for Matt Williams. Line drive, base hit into left field. Rounding third is Bell as Surhoff overruns the ball. The throw comes into third. Bell scores, and it's 2-0 Arizona.
We talked about the 2 guys that needed to step it up offensively, and they've come through in this inning. Jay Bell with a double, Matt Williams with an RBI single with 2 outs. B.J. Surhoff charging hard, bobbles the ball. It really didn't have an impact on the play at the plate. But Bell comes in to score. Gonzalez goes to third, and Matt Williams and Jay Bell have to produce offensively for this team the last 2 months of the season.
Matt Williams, in his first 34 games this season, had only 6 RBIs. In his last 9 games, he now has 7 RBIs. He moves Gonzalez around to third with a base hit. The batter is Steve Finley. All of this coming with 2 outs and nobody on. A walk to Womack, then he stole second, scored on Bell's double. An intentional walk to Gonzalez after Maddux fell behind a 3-0. And then the RBI single for Matt Williams, who until that base hit had been only 4 for 37 this year with runners in scoring position. Inside to Finley, 2 balls, no strikes. Maddux falling behind more often than not.
Well, it was a 2-out walk by Tony Womack that started this whole inning, and those are the things Buck Showalter says we have to do. We've got to get our leadoff guy on. We've got to get some clutch hitting, and this all came with 2 outs. Tony Womack had a great at bat against Maddux, fouling off several tough pitches, working Maddux for the walk. And then he stole second, got himself into scoring position. Jay Bell drives him home with a double up the gap. And then Matt Williams with a 2-out base hit to left field, and it's a 2-run rally for the Diamondbacks.
And for a team that has scored only 11 runs in their last 4 games, losing the last 3 of them, falling out of first in the National League West. All the emotion of Curt Schilling on the mound tonight. This is a big one for Arizona. Grounded down to first. Joyner's got it, and the inning is over. But the Diamondbacks get a couple on RBIs by Jay Bell and Matt Williams to take a 2-0 lead. Back in Phoenix, it's a 2-0 lead for the Diamondbacks with the roof closed as it is through most of the hot summer here in Arizona. Curt Schilling has a couple of runs to work with right now in his hometown debut as a member of the Diamondbacks. You'd imagine by now the jitters, such as they were, are pretty much under control. He's been pretty good through 3 innings, although as Buck has mentioned, he hasn't thrown a lot of blazing Schilling fastballs. There have been a lot of off-speed pitches, but he starts Brian Jordan with a pitch on the outside corner 0-1, but again took something off.
Yeah, just 86 miles an hour. It's kind of interesting. Went up to 88. I watched him pitch out of a couple of tough jams, in particular against Preston Wilson, when he got it up to 95 miles an hour, and he just powered his way out of that tough jam.
Are you able to tell whether this is just a change in game plan or whether he simply doesn't have as good fastball?
No, I think it's a change in game plan more than anything. Mark Connor and Buck Showalter have been together a long time. They were in New York together with the Yankees, and they're probably trying to get a feel for Curt Schilling as well. There, see, he's adding a little bit more. I think this is a game plan. I think what he has done is he's just gone out with a different game plan. That's what he did against the Marlins. 8 innings, just a single run, 6 hits, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. And he said in the 5th inning of that game on Friday, he was out of gas. Emotionally, he was spent, dealing with the trade, all of the press conferences, and the emotions of joining a new team. He didn't have a chance to meet his teammates because on game day when he's pitching, he doesn't talk to anyone. And everybody kind of steered clear of him.
Just inside a 3-2.
But you see, that's up to 91 now. So I think this whole thing has just been a game plan by Schilling.
And remember, this is his 4th start of the year against the Braves.
Yeah.
So maybe he just wants to give them a different look. Faced him 3 times when he was with the Phillies. Misses low, and Jordan is aboard to lead off the 4th inning. Part of the reason this is a dream come true for Curt Schilling, not only getting a chance to play for a contender, but this is home. As close to home as Schilling has, moving here at the age of 5, went to Shadow Mountain High, about 8 or 9 miles north of the stadium, where his uniform number 19, has been retired by the Matterhorns of Shadow Mountain. And I love the comment when he said, well, I didn't dream of pitching here when I was a kid because I thought it was too hot for them to ever put a major league team here. It is, but they did, and he's thrilled to be a part of it now.
Well, it's such a baseball community because of spring training for so many years. Many teams training around the Phoenix area, and then finally a major league team here in the area. A lot of major leaguers make their off-season home in this area.
0-2 on Surhoff. When you look back at Schilling's high school career, as we have in the last couple of days leading up to this start, we found that he didn't make varsity until senior year, and even during his senior year, he played as much third base as anything else. His first start, as coach recalls, he was wild, but he struck out 12. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Schilling went on to a junior college here in Arizona, Yavapai Junior College, pitched for a couple of years, and eventually was drafted by the Boston Red Sox, and then was traded to Baltimore, and then was traded to Houston, and then was traded to Philly, and never really became the pitcher he is today until Philadelphia.
I hope you guys have fun.
And along the way, he recalls a number of conversations that people had with him about his ability and how he shouldn't treat it lightly. And it started with Roger Clemens in the Red Sox organization, and then his manager in Baltimore, Frank Robinson, and then Nolan Ryan took him aside. And after all of that, he finally said, you know what? I've got to make the most of this. I've got to stop taking it for granted. I've got to prepare. I've got to work out. I've got to eat better. And he's done all of those things. And when he is healthy, he's right up there, just below the Randy Johnsons, the Pedro Martinez's, one of the few true aces in the majors. He slides in as a pretty handsome number 2 in this Arizona rotation.
To me, an ace is a guy like Schilling or Maddux or Johnson that'll go out there and give you whatever you need on a given night. If you need 8 innings, he can give you 8 innings. If you need a complete game, he can give you a complete game. And other nights when Maddux is out there and he's got a comfortable lead after 6, he'll take the night off and let the bullpen do it.
As you can see, Greg Maddux is just consumed with tension right now in the first base dugout.
Come on, sir.
He loves to compete. Talking to his catcher, Paul Bacco.
One and 2 on a Surhoff. Jordan at first. And a ground ball out to second, backhanded smartly by Bell for 1, but that's all. Surhoff beats it down the line, but nicely done by Jay Bell, who earlier committed an error just to get the lead runner.
Now Jay Bell keeps it on the infield, and that was going to be a tough double play to turn. And take a look at the hot shot off the bat of Surhoff. He battled against Schilling, and here's the toss. Look at Brian Jordan. He is all over Tony Womack. I don't know how the world he got out of the way, but it wasn't a double play ball. Just wasn't hit sharp enough, and when Jay Bell had to dive for it, all he could get was the lead runner.
Keith Lockhart, the batter, with Surhoff at first and 1 out. Kilby Overis, the second baseman for the Atlanta Braves, when healthy, is out for the season with a knee injury. Walt Weiss, another middle infielder, has battled knee injuries as well. So Lockhart has stepped in as an everyday player for now. Rafael Furcal, who can play second or short, is getting a lot more playing time than the Braves expected. And just like last year, the Braves having to deal with a lot of injuries, and the Diamondbacks have as well. But Atlanta without Averis and without Smoltz and without Eddie Perez, their talented backup catcher. Brian Jordan has battled through a lot of injuries. Reggie Sanders is on the DL right now. Although he wasn't playing very well, wasn't hitting very well specifically. 3-0 the count. Schilling didn't like that last call. But yet through all those injuries, the Atlanta Braves once again have the best record in all of baseball.
Yeah, and you scratch your head and wonder how can they do it year in and year out. And this year, of course, John Rockford has not been as effective as he was last year. I think Bobby Cox deserves a lot of credit for the stability that he provides in the dugout. He's a tremendous competitor and very volatile at times, but he gets his team prepared. And I was almost ill-prepared for that.
That's yeah. You don't move as quickly as you used to back in your playing.
It was right
days.
there, and I had about this much time to make a move, and I was late. I was talking. I can't talk and catch at the same time.
The game's supposed to be a lot easier, a lot slower up here. 3-2 the count. Hit and run is on it. It's a base hit through the right side for Lockhart. Surhoff had to hold up a little bit to avoid the ball, and he's already seen a Conti out in right field throw out one Atlanta base runner tonight, so he didn't want to take the chance.
And Conti came up with that arm cocked and ready to throw. Lockhart pulls the ball through the hole. B.J. Surhoff on the move, has to jump out of the way of the ball. He's thinking about making a turn, takes a big turn, and then looks and says, no, I don't think so.
Showing the rookie a little respect out in right field. Surhoff stops at second, 2 on with only 1 out. And here's Bacco, who grounded out back to the mound his first time up. Atlanta's out hitting Arizona 4-3, and the Diamondbacks have committed a couple of errors, but it's the Diamondbacks with a 2-0 lead. Schilling working down near the bottom of the Atlanta order right now with Bacco, the number 8 hitter. Maddux out in the on-deck circle. And a chance to get out of trouble again. Cabrera for one. Womack back to first. Double play. Arizona still leads 2-0. Cabrera, known as a guy who's going to swing the bat, but he started a pretty nice 3-6-3 double play.
Well, he sure did. He had a similar play earlier in the game, and he was much more deliberate. But this time he has a quick pivot, good throw to Womack at second base, who relays back to the big first baseman Cabrera, and they turn the 3-6-3 double play in time to end the inning. Schilling gets a little defensive help.
And he's still got a 2-0 lead heading to the bottom of the fourth. And here's Cabrera to lead it off against Maddux. He rips it to deep right field and off the wall. Running hard and into second with a leadoff double is Cabrera.
Last year it was DeRosa who gave them the spark in the second half. This year it might be Alex Cabrera. His second double of the season. He's got 4 home runs already, and he absolutely crushes this ball. It's a slider down and away, and Brian Jordan didn't expect it to carry. Look how he gets turned around, and that ball hits at the top of the fence and just misses going out for his 5th home run. A leadoff double for the first baseman.
And the batter is Jason Akontai as Chipper Jones sneaks in at third. Likewise Joyner at first. Akontai going to try and move the runner to third base. Fails on his first attempt.
Now there's no place other than third base you can bunt it. You can't bunt it to Joyner. He's a great fielder at first. As Dan mentioned earlier, Maddux is a 10-time Gold Glover on the mound. You've got to make Chipper Jones field this bunt. Pull him away from a bag at third to enable the base runner to advance.
Now swinging away. Akontai in the hole at 0-2.
You've got to really grind to pull the ball on the right side.
The rookie going old style without any batting gloves. So it's a fly ball in the foul territory to find the seats down the right field side. You won't find on average more than maybe one guy a team who doesn't wear at least one batting glove.
Vladimir Guerrero. He doesn't wear batting gloves, and he does okay with it.
You think?
George Brett never wore batting gloves. He had the hands of a blacksmith by September.
Runner at second, 0-2 on Akontai. Field still up for grabs for these Diamondbacks. They have shown they're going to change things around frequently until they find a combination that clicks. This is an aggressive team, both within their own organization, signing free agents, going out, pulling off the big deal for Schilling. Inside, 1 ball and 2 strikes. You forget they're only in their 3rd year. Last year won 100 games, won the National League West. Joe Garagiola Jr., the GM of the Diamondbacks, pulling off the deal for Schilling last week. Strengthening an already strong pitching staff. It's the offense that hasn't been holding up its end of the bargain. Inside again, 2 balls and 2 strikes. And the last few weeks, the bullpen has been very inconsistent. And the Diamondbacks, who got out of the gate at 32-16, are a sub-500 team since then and have fallen slightly behind San Francisco in the National League West. 2-2 from Maddux. Hit sharply to the shortstop, caught by Furcal, and Cabrera back to second base. Well, a week from tonight, there is more baseball for you. It begins on ESPN at 7 Eastern time when Derek Jeter and the New York Yankees take on the Oakland A's, who have won 5 in a row. And they're the wild card team right now in the American League. Some of you will see the Braves and the Reds. Then at 8 Eastern here on ESPN2, Frank Thomas having a big year. Magglio Ordonez, what a star he's turning into. And the White Sox, with the best record in the American League, take on the Seattle Mariners, the first place team in the American League West. Damian Miller grounds out. To third goes Cabrera, but that's what the Diamondbacks needed an out ago.
Yeah, they got it backwards. But Maddux will make you do that. He really pitched Conti tough and then gets an easy ground ball out. Now he's got to deal with Schilling.
Now the roof comes off this place if Schilling can squib one through the infield for a base hit to bring home another run. He grounded it back to the mound his first time up, hitting 188 on the season. Flies into his own dugout. Let's see if he can contain a smile with all that he's going to be hearing from his teammates and fans.
Tad Stottlemyre, who's been known to do this from time to time, he just loses the grip. Got fooled on the pitch, and fortunately everybody ducks out of the way. Look at that. Trying to put down a bunt. Gets the Braves off guard.
Diamondbacks already leading 2-0. Runner at third, 2 down. And Maddux gets out of a jam. After the leadoff double by Cabrera, the Diamondbacks can't score. They'll take a 2-0 lead to the 5th here in Arizona. Curt Schilling making the most of his first start in Arizona as a member of the Diamondbacks. He's got a 2-0 lead heading to the 5th, but as we've mentioned, this is a state with which he is very familiar. He's off to a good start. There have been a couple of errors behind him, but they haven't come back to hurt him. The Diamondbacks got both of their runs in the 3rd.
This is him at high school, in his high school yearbook. Shadow Mountain High School, not far from the ballpark here.
Big kid.
Big kid. That's why he played third and had some power.
First pitch of the 5th inning. Maddux grounds it down to third. High throw from Williams with some help from Cabrera to record the out. The Shadow Mountain Matadors, class of '85. What do you think ever happened to that other guy?
He's probably some .com president somewhere.
Not taking Schilling's phone calls. Back to the top of the order for Cal, who has struck out twice tonight. Second time trying to bunt with a couple of strikes on him.
I talked about how Schilling has really attacked the Braves differently, and Dan made a good point about this being his 4th start against Atlanta this year. So maybe he felt he had to change things up a little bit. 89-mile-an-hour fastball. You can see he's got a very smooth delivery, very deliberate approach to Chipper Jones and his teammates.
And with 2 more scheduled starts, or at least potential starts against the Braves later on this season, he might face them 6 times in 1 year. Cal trying to check the bunt with him, and that's an easy hit for a guy with his speed. Let's go back to Steve Levy. He's got another update.
Dan, thank you. Zima takes us to Seattle. Pedro Martinez on top of his game as they're in the 5th inning. He's allowed just 1 hit and has struck out 3 players. He's getting plenty of offensive support. No more Garcia Parra. 2nd in the big leagues in multi-hit games behind only Darren Erstad. Got himself another.
And here for Cal with a base hit, Steve, and a bunt single with a 1 out in the 5th. And now let's see how long he waits. He's already got 23 steals on the season. Andrew Jones is the batter. Jones tonight reached on an error, also has a base hit. He's an old-timer now, just turned 23. For Cal's only 19.
Seems like Andrew Jones has been around forever in Atlanta, doesn't it?
Close over there at first.
Andrew Jones came up with a splash in '96 and made a contribution in the World Series, a couple of home runs. And for Cal's made a contribution in his rookie year. 23 of 29 so far this season in steals.
Base hit through the left side for Jones. So 2 on with only 1 out here in the 5th. And although it's Arizona that leads, it's Atlanta that has had more chances to score here tonight.
Arizona got the big double play last inning when Schilling had a couple of runners on, and Alex Cabrera, the first baseman, started the 3-6-3 double play that ended the inning. And he looks a little more comfortable at first base than I expected.
Now Chipper Jones. First and second, 1 out in the 5th inning. Braves threatening. Looks like a cross-up maybe between Schilling and Miller, and they'll talk about it. You can see the way that Miller attempted to catch the ball. That wasn't the pitch he was expecting.
Yeah, when you have a runner at second base, you go through a series of signs. You have an indicator and a bunch of signs. Watch his reaction now. He is expecting that ball to break. You can see how slow he was in turning his glove over. He was expecting that ball to be a splitter or an off-speed pitch. So they're making sure they've got the right signs. They're using the right set of signs with Furcal at second base. It's the only the second time these two have been together. And there's Furcal camped at second. So you've got to use a series of signs, and they got crossed up on the first pitch. They're lucky that Miller was able to flag it down and keep it at home plate and keep the base runners from advancing.
The Braves have had their opportunities, have not taken advantage of them here tonight as Jones fouls it back. 3 times in 5 innings tonight. The Braves have had 2 on with only 1 out, but they have yet to score. And this has been the thing that Arizona's been struggling with, not Atlanta. The Braves come in here having won 4 in a row, and it's 66-40. They're 5 games up on the Mets in the National League East. It's Buck Showalter's Diamondbacks who have been scraping and scrapping for runs.
It's been a little different story for him tonight, but he's not going to relax until this goes on for a week or so. He said, I really need Matt Williams and Jay Bell to get hot, go up with key hits as they have done here tonight.
Ground ball to short. Womack to Bell to Cabrera for another inning-ending double play. The second in as many innings behind Curt Schilling, who still leads 2-0. Somewhat of a pitcher's duel, as you might expect, between Greg Maddux and Curt Schilling. It's 2-0, bottom of the 5th inning. Tony Womack, top of the order. Womack, Bell, and Gonzalez coming up against Maddux here in the bottom of the 5th. Arizona, as you can see, they have struggled in the last few weeks, and they have blown leads. So they've had 2 problems. They haven't driven in key runs when given the opportunity, and then when they've had leads, Buck Showalter has gone to the bullpen, and things haven't gone that well. The starting pitching has been good. This team is second in the major leagues in ERA, and the team that's in first is also here tonight. But the Diamondbacks, whose bullpen was so good for the first 3 months, they all got in a rut at the same time. And they've made some changes down there. Manti's back as the closer. Kim, who was great, but then got his mechanics messed up, couldn't throw strikes. He was sent down to the minors.
Kim was really maybe the most dominant relief pitcher in the league first half of the season. Then he lost his command, and there you see their bullpen 15-23 when the starters work less than 6 innings, and that's pretty standard. Anytime you expose that bullpen for more than 3 or 4 innings, you're going to run into those types of numbers. But they've had more than their share of problems down in the bullpen. Vicente Padilla, the young hard-throwing right-hander that Buck Showalter's team had to give up in the Curt Schilling deal, is a guy that they were hopeful they could keep somehow, but Philadelphia demanded that he be included in the deal, and he's a hard-throwing right-hander that's got closer stuff.
Here's Jay Bell. Last time up, he doubled to right center field to bring home the first run of the night. That was in the 3rd inning. 2 batters later, Matt Williams would bring home a run with a single, and Arizona leads 2-0. We talked about some of the career years that some Diamondback players had last year, and Bell was certainly among them. He hit 38 home runs, which is 17 more than he had ever hit before. And so coming into this season, you wonder, has he reached a new career level, or was that one season kind of an aberration? And I think we've seen that he's gone back to his career norms, and that maybe 1999 was a bit of a fluke for him. And while he's a good player, he's not a 38 home run guy.
Yeah, it was just one of those years, and you can see this season, 11 and 42 last season at this time, 27 home runs and 75 RBIs. Obviously, the 75 RBIs at this point a year ago, more of a result for everybody around him hitting well also.
2-2 the count. Maddux working quickly as always. Off his glove, but he gets enough of it to have a play. 2 down. He's had a busy night out on the mound. He's already made 4 plays.
Well, he's like a cat out there. He just got a piece of that ball, knocked it down, kept it at his feet, and then he knew he had time to make the play. There you see his 10 consecutive Gold Gloves. Watch how quickly he reaches to his right, just gets it in the webbing of his glove, knocks it to the ground, and then picks it up and fires to first for the out. Got a little broken lace there on his glove.
Bit of a delay, a chance to remind you about a big event coming up Saturday on ABC Sports. It's the Brickyard 400 live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Dale Jarrett defending his title against NASCAR's best. Live coverage begins at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time on ABC Sports. Back here into Phoenix, it's the Diamondbacks 2 and the Braves nothing, as Maddux continues to get that glove repaired as they attempt to repair it after the comebacker tore the webbing a little bit. Looks like they're going to go get him a new one.
Maddux wanted to pitch with it. He says, come on, just go. Give me this glove. And he said, no, you got to have it fixed. And generally, position players will have 2 gloves on the field. Pitchers don't necessarily have the 2 gloves on the field, but all they got to do is get that lacer and run that string back through the hole in the little finger of that glove, and then they can throw a knot on it, and that'll keep it closed. But position players will have an extra glove on the bench. They'll just go in there and get their extra glove and go out and play. The pitchers don't bring an extra glove out because they don't experience this very often.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without express written consent. And for the most complete baseball coverage on the internet, go to MajorLeagueBaseball.com, where you're sure to find out about all of the exploits of the likes of Greg Maddux and Curt Schilling, a couple of all-star pitchers battling here tonight, both of them pitching well. Luis Gonzalez with a base hit and then a walk to second time up to 320 on the season. Rolls over on the grounder. Maddux has to get to first to cover, and Joyner, as a lefty, makes a tough backhanded flip to the bag and in the inning. Good thing Maddux got the glove taken care of.
ESPN2's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by cold refreshing Zima. Zima, a few degrees cooler.
I tell you, a few degrees cooler sounds pretty good here in the Valley of the Sun. Wally Joyner lifting a fly ball to left field. He's retired to begin the 6th inning. Whoever would have thought a Major League Baseball would have come to Arizona? Certainly not Curt Schilling. It's one of the first things he said upon being acquired by the Diamondbacks. This roof opens and closes in 4 minutes, and during the day in the summer they'll leave it open to give the grass a chance to get some sunshine, but then once the players start trickling in for batting practice, they'll close it up. and it takes a while to cool off, and during the summer months they will leave it closed through the ball game. Brian Jordan attempting to hit the roof, pops one up in the middle of the diamond, and look out, as nobody said much of anything, but Tony Womack will make the catch.
Now Schilling has been able to pitch out of a couple of tough situations. He's been boosted by inning-ending double plays in the last 2 innings. He won't need one this inning. Been an interesting start for him. As I mentioned all along, we've not really seen that overpowering fastball that he's had his last couple of starts.
B.J. Surhoff, the batter. Schilling misses just down and away. Surhoff has singled and reached on a fielder's choice, 1 for 2. In his second game with the Atlanta Braves. Nine years with Milwaukee, 4 with Baltimore. Surhoff started as a catcher, moved to third, played some first, and now has become a pretty good left fielder. Not blessed with a great speed, but pretty good instincts, and he'll catch pretty much everything he gets to. Now the play 2-1, and one of the things that the Braves liked about Surhoff, the same thing that the Diamondbacks liked about Schilling, they're not a rent-a-player. They are signed, in Surhoff's case, through next season, then with an option for 2002, and by today's standards, very reasonable. $4.5 million over the next couple of years per season for Surhoff, although as a player traded in the middle of a multi-year deal, he does have the right to demand a trade at the end of the season. He says he hasn't even thought about that right now, and while he's no Ripken, he's the active leader in consecutive games.
Yeah, he comes out every single day, and he expects to play 9 innings, and he's on quite a streak.
2-2, grounded to short. Big hop for Womack. Quick inning for Schilling. 3 up and 3 down to go the Braves. It's Arizona leading by 2 with Matt Williams scheduled to lead off the bottom of the 6th. The Atlanta Braves are trailing Arizona 2-0 heading to the bottom of the 6th. Greg Maddux is still on the mound, but Scott Kamenicki looks like he is ready, or getting ready, for some serious action. And he has started to stretch, and with Greg Maddux due up third when the Braves hit at the top of the 7th, is this Maddux's last inning? Does Kamenicki just believe in getting ready very early should he be needed later on?
Yeah, I'm sure they're considering it. Maddux, 81 pitches, but they're down 2, and he is the scheduled 3rd batter next inning. Things you have to think about.
Matt Williams leading off the bottom of the 6th. He had an RBI single his last time up. It'll be Williams, Steve Finley, and Alex Cabrera, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters for the Diamondbacks. They've got quite a road the rest of the way. A very difficult schedule. They'll see the Braves a couple more series. They've got 2 series with the Dodgers in September. And 8 of their final 11 games are against the San Francisco Giants, the team they currently trail by half a game in the National League West. As you can see what Williams is dealing with in the power department, just 3 home runs through all those injuries this year. Because of a rainout earlier in the season, the Diamondbacks and Giants have a day-night doubleheader scheduled near the end of September. So in 2 series, they're going to play 8 games against the Giants. And with the Dodgers starting to play better, this could be a wild finish in the National League West.
And it should be. This is the way pennant races should be decided the last 3 weeks of the season. And baseball schedulers are going to have to make sure this happens more frequently.
Swing and a miss by Williams, 3-2.
Boy, Maddux has really got that ball moving. He got it up in a 2-out situation. He walked Womack, and then Jay Bell doubled and Matt Williams singled. But look at the movement on this pitch. And that's a 2-seam fastball. Bottom drops out of it. Williams had his sights on it when he swung and disappeared. He never allows you to really square up on a pitch off the end of the bat. You get fisted in and out, up and down. But the Diamondbacks got to him in the 3rd. Take a look at this pitch. Just a little bit off it. You see Williams just gets a piece of it off the end of the bat to stay alive.
7 in a row now set down by Maddux.
He took a lot off this pitch, and he fools him with velocity and fools him with movement as well. You can see how Matt Williams was out in front, and he swings over the top of it. And look at this pitch. His bat passes that ball before it gets to the hitting zone.
Now Steve Finley, who's grounded out a couple of times. And if Cal could make the play, which he cannot, so Finley will reach. Cal with a strong arm, but not even his arm could make up for the bobble.
Well, they gave him a hit on that. That's pretty generous scoring. He backhanded it, slipped out of his glove, but when he recovers, it's not in time. It's wide of the mark. Finley already by the bag. And if that fencing isn't there, Finley would have been in second.
Infield hit for Finley, and a runner aboard with a 1 out for the Diamondbacks here in the bottom of the 6th. And Alex Cabrera is the batter. The guy who smoked a double off the top of the right field wall his last time up. With Durazo in the minors, the Diamondbacks will give Cabrera a look at first base. Travis Lee in the trade for Schilling, so they've cleared a couple of obstacles for playing time for Cabrera. Broken bat, ground ball to second. Lockhart steps on the bat, fires to first for the double play. That ends the inning. There go the Diamondbacks, and on to the 7th here at the Bob, with Arizona leading Atlanta 2-0. Pitching coach Leo Mazzoni in the Atlanta dugout, a 2-0 Diamondback lead heading to the 7th. Maddux is due up 3rd of this inning as Keith Lockhart lifts a fly ball to left field. Some activity now down in the Atlanta bullpen is Bobby Cox. There's Bonilla out in the on-deck circle, so it looks like Maddux is done. Scott Kamenicki has started throwing down in the bullpen just as of a minute or so ago, so it looks like Greg Maddux is done. Starting to get some pats on the back and that sort of thing, but leaves having pitched well but trailing because Curt Schilling hasn't allowed the Braves much of anything. And a lot of quick at-bats here tonight. Another fly ball to left field, and for the second time in as many innings, 2 pitches, 2 outs for Schilling, as we have time to go back to Steve Levy for an update.
Dan, thank you. We only have half the pitching matchup you have. What's going on in Seattle? That's Pedro Martinez's half. So far, he's allowed 2 hits. He struck out 5 and allowed 2 walks. We'll move to the 7th.
And here it remains 2-0 for the Diamondbacks over the Braves. And a change of heart for Bobby Cox. No Bonilla now. George Lombard is going to come up and a pinch hit. Perhaps Bobby Cox wanting to save Bonilla for a future opportunity, maybe with a runner on. Lombard at one point, and maybe still one of the top prospects in the Atlanta organization, as Bonilla waits for another opportunity.
Well, they were going to send Bonilla up there should they get a base runner on with the potential of hitting a game-tying home run, but now they'll ask Lombard just try to get on base and save the veteran pinch hitter Bonilla for a more favorable situation.
Curt Schilling hasn't been striking out a lot of people tonight, just 2 in fact, but he has gotten a lot of quick outs. His pitch count is very low. That's just his 83rd pitch of the night through 6 2/3, and this is a guy who, even when he would strike out 8, 10, 12, he would throw 130 pitches, but he would still complete the game. No active pitcher completes a higher percentage of his starts than Curt Schilling, and by his standards, not that this has been a walk on the beach, but he hasn't had to throw as many pitches as he normally does.
You know what he's done? He's out Maddux to Maddux. He hadn't thrown but a handful of pitches over 90 tonight. And here, this is a straight fastball. He likes to throw straight fastballs because he says, I want to know where it's going. Another one. There's a 91 mile an hour. And you can say, well, what about the radar gun? Maybe it's off. Well, I am just comparing what Schilling's throwing to what Maddux is throwing, and they've been very similar all night long. And there's another four-seamer right on the outside part of the plate. No movement for Schilling. Dramatic movement for Maddux. And there's a splitter.
And Lombard strikes out. Another good inning for Schilling, who's getting better and better and earning more and more fans as the night moves along. It remains 2-0. It's been this way since the third inning. The Diamondbacks trying to avenge last night's defeat to the Braves. New pitcher for Atlanta, right-hander Scott Kamenicki, another recent acquisition by the Braves. Picked up last month after he was designated for assignment by the Cleveland Indians. The Indians have been so desperate for pitching all season long, they don't have a use for Kamenicki. He comes to Atlanta, and he is pitching well as an Atlanta Brave.
Well, he sure is. He gives them a little more depth. They've also added Stan Belinda down to that bullpen, and they've got Mike Remlinger back now, so their bullpen's starting to sort itself out a little bit. But Kamenicki is a guy that's bounced from the Yankees to the Orioles to the Indians, and now has found himself here in Atlanta.
Jason Conti, the first batter of the 7th inning, rolls one out to second for the first out. So Greg Maddux goes 6 innings, gives up just a couple of runs. Might take a loss here tonight, but still pitched a very good game.
Well, the big thing about Maddux, in the 4th inning, he's facing Alex Cabrera, and look at this pitch, a slider down and away, and Cabrera hammers it off the wall. Well, Maddux is the best at making adjustments, so he says, try to hit this one. Inside sinker ball, breaks the bat, gets the double play, and that's how Maddux is so good at reading hitters that he doesn't know a lot about and making adjustments during the course of a game.
Damian Miller has struck out and grounded out tonight. Takes just a little bit low, 2-0. And there's a base hit through the right side. Kamenicki spending time with the Yankees and Orioles before the Indians, and then coming to Atlanta. And Bobby Cox has enough faith in him to use him late in the game in which the Braves are winning. Bobby Cox says it might be Kamenicki, it might be Lightenberg, it might be Remlinger, it might be Rocker. Rocker failed to finish it out last night, walked a couple, and was lifted in the 9th inning. But Bobby Cox told me before the game he feels no need to have one set closer heading into the stretch run of the playoffs. He's got enough confidence in his group. As Schilling looks down for the sign.
Well, the interesting thing about the Braves over the years is the fact they haven't had one closer over a number of years. It seems like every year it's a different closer, somebody that steps up. Last year it was Rocker, year before that it was Lightenberg, and they've just been able to have different closers step up when someone doesn't have the consistency necessary to do the job.
Prior to that, you go back to the likes of Stanton, McMichael, Reardon, way back. There's Terry Mulholland, who has been starting, but with the acquisition of Andy Ashby and then John Burkett pitching well out of the pen, Burkett and Mulholland flip-flopped, with Mulholland going into the bullpen. And he's a valuable arm down there. He can pitch every day.
This part of the game, the most difficult 9 outs of the game. 7, 8, 9.
Schilling can't get the bunt down. And for the Atlanta Braves, they have always had the incredible starting pitching, but come postseason, at times they've struggled a little bit in those late innings, or they've struggled to come up with a big base hit.
Well, there's so much offense in the game today that no deficit is too big to overcome, so you've got to have guys down in that bullpen that can close out games in the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Schilling bunts through it, and he's gone. 2 down.
Shortstop, Tony O'Connor.
Now Curt Schilling, as we mentioned, from this area and a member of the Shadow Mountain High Matadors, where he's had his number retired. This is 8 or 9 miles north of us here in North Phoenix, and this is the high school field on which Curt Schilling, mainly as a third baseman, toiled. The class of '85. And even his high school coach and junior college coach said, well, we knew he was good, but we didn't know how far he'd be able to take it. And obviously he has taken it as far as you can take it. Twice striking out at least 300 batters in a season. Leading the National League at various times in innings pitched, strikeouts, complete games. Tony Womack with a ground ball out to second. And that is all for the Diamondbacks into the 7th. Good job by Kamenicki. More Schilling. When we return, he's got a 2-0 lead over Atlanta. 2-0 Arizona over Atlanta heading to the 8th, and there will be more Atlanta Braves on your television Sunday night over on ESPN. And Chipper Jones and the Braves are at Busch Stadium in St. Louis to take on the first place team in the Central, the St. Louis Cardinals. At 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time, join John Miller and Joe Morgan for ESPN's exclusive coverage of the Sunday night baseball game of the week. For more on the major leagues, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, Go.com. And, of course, it all begins at 7:30 Eastern time with the Baseball Tonight. Chipper Jones due up third here this inning. The Braves have been held off the score sheet by Curt Schilling tonight in his hometown debut as a member of the Diamondbacks. It's been quite a week for him. Prior to the trade, you recall, he said, well, I'd like to be traded. I'll consider being traded. I don't want to be traded. He couldn't decide. He has had some very quick outs in the last 3 innings, keeping that pitch count down. You'd expect a few more Ks from these fellas, but they haven't had a very busy night.
I don't think anybody's going to really be concerned about the number of Ks as much as the number of zeros he's put on the board, 7 so far. There you see. Now, remember, Curt Schilling had surgery on December 13th on his shoulder, and it was quite a comeback for him. First 8 starts, 1-4, 6.34 ERA. Last 9 starts, 6-2 with a 1.90 ERA. And he's on his way to improving those numbers. But again, you can see just an 89-mile-an-hour fastball, and he said before his last start he's not quite 100% yet. And maybe he just realizes that he's going to pitch a little bit more until everything really comes together for him.
Fights back to 2-2 on Rafael Furcal. A couple of strikeouts and then a bunt single here tonight. This is the inning last night in which the Braves scored 4 times to overcome a 2-0 deficit, the same deficit they're facing right now. Andrew Jones hit that controversial 2-run home run, controversial only in the sense that a fan got involved with Luis Gonzalez out in left field. The ball was clearly hit over the wall, but Gonzalez very well may have made the catch had the fan not gotten involved. And then later Brian Jordan would homer to give the Braves the lead. Furcal grounds out, 1 down here in the 8th inning. Big night for Curt Schilling. We asked him yesterday about what went through his mind walking into the clubhouse for the first time.
I don't know that there was one feeling. It was a combination of feelings, nervousness, anxiety, you know, all the things I think that come with being in first place. Plus, I was coming to a new team, the team that I know is counting on me to help them get to the World Series. You know, all that entails. If I could, I couldn't break it down into one emotion.
You know, it's very difficult joining a new team middle of the season. In spring training, it's quite a bit different. You're out there all day. Things are very relaxed. You go through your drills, you visit, you learn about other guys, you meet new teammates. In the middle of the season, he joined his team on the day he pitched. He went down to Florida, walked in the locker room. He doesn't like to talk to people normally when he pitches, even with the teammates that he's been around for a number of years.
That's one of the best fastballs he has thrown tonight. It was just 90, and that's low by his standards, as you've referred to often tonight. But great location right on the inside corner.
It's another 4-seam fastball, and you can see how it's straight as a string, and it doesn't bother Schilling at all. He says, I want to know exactly where this pitch is going. Comes right back with it, and Jones fights it off. Randy Johnson is the only guy that didn't really try to communicate with Schilling last Friday when they met. He was very respectful of the fact that a starter on the day he's pitching has more things on his mind than shaking hands with new teammates.
Grounded down to third. Williams will make the play. Andrew Jones is retired at 2 down. And now 9 in a row set down by Schilling. He jumped from a team near the bottom of the National League East to a team near the top of the National League West. Very low pitch counter for Schilling, and what we must remember is it has been 7 years since he played for a contender. The Phillies have been below 500 every year since 1994. Of course, back in '93, Schilling was a big reason that the Phillies went all the way to the World Series. He was the MVP in the NLCS when the Phillies beat the Braves. And then he shut out the Blue Jays in Game 5 of the World Series to extend the series to a 6th game when Toronto won it. Ground ball. Inning over. 10 in a row set down by Curt Schilling. Welcome home indeed for the kid from Phoenix. Well, folks who turned in to see some good pitching between Greg Maddux and Curt Schilling certainly have not been disappointed here tonight, especially fans of Curt Schilling. He has thrown 8 shutout innings. This 5 days after his first start with the Diamondbacks, when he threw 8 innings and gave up only 1 run. You couldn't ask for anything more.
No, and he's really pitched quite differently tonight. And he talked about his Florida start in that he was tired after 5 innings, but he still had enough adrenaline to throw the fastball 94, 95 miles an hour. Tonight it's been a much different story. He's used a lot of breaking balls. He's used his changeup effectively. And then in the later stages, when he has retired 10 straight Braves hitters, he's really spotted his fastball very effectively.
You know, the Giants have not added very many people as Terry Mulholland makes his way into the game. Third pitcher of the night for the Braves. Giants lost today to Milwaukee. If Arizona wins tonight, those two teams will in effect be tied for first place. The Giants have an outstanding team, and they seem to be getting by with less. They don't add people like Arizona. They don't add people like the Dodgers. Is there one team of these 3 that you would pick as the favorite the rest of the way in this division? You don't want to get in trouble.
On the spot here in August. You know what? Buck Showalter thinks he's going to get Kim back. He's down there. He's going to start a couple of times, throw 3 innings in each of those 2 outings, trying to find his command again. He thinks he's going to be a very important guy for them. But you look at the teams, and the Giants have turned their season around in the month of July. They had a great month of July on the strength of their starting pitching. Now Buck Showalter has Schilling, and he's got Reynoso, who's pitched very well without much to show for it. Randy Johnson, of course, and Brian Anderson. I mean, Brian Anderson has not had any run support whatsoever. His record could be much better than it is.
And they're hopeful maybe in September they might get Todd Stottlemyre back.
Yeah, and Stottlemyre continues to hold out hope that he might give them 4 or 5 starts.
Jay Bell lifts a fly ball into right field for Brian Jordan. And you talk about the potential of that rotation if Stottlemyre is healthy and if Schilling and Johnson can pitch as Schilling and Johnson are capable of. Wow.
Well, and you mentioned the difficult schedule they have down the stretch, playing all of their division rivals, the Dodgers and Giants, in the last part of the season. The Giants, in my mind, and Dusty Baker feels the same way, that Doug Henry, although not a real marquee addition, is a very valuable addition to their bullpen, a guy that can set up, give them long relief, middle relief, and actually close. Rob Nen is throwing as well as he's thrown in his career right now, and their pitching staff has really come together. Livan Hernandez has turned things around. Sean Estes and Mark Gardner has pitched very well for them.
Luis Gonzalez, the batter, lifts a fly ball into left center field, and Andrew Jones moving over to make the play. These 2 flyouts this inning are the first 2 putouts recorded by Atlanta outfielders all night. In the first 7 innings, every out made by the Diamondbacks was a ground out, a strikeout, or a line out. Everything on the infield.
Well, the only time Maddux got in trouble was in that 3rd inning when he walked Womack with 2 outs, and then the double by Bell. After an intentional walk to Gonzalez, Matt Williams had the RBI single.
And here's Williams again to the check swing foul.
But I didn't really answer your question about having a favorite, did I?
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, you know what? I think this Diamondbacks team, if they can start swinging the bats a little more effectively, they and the Giants are going to be the 2 teams that are going to battle it out. That's what I think.
And if it came down to that, 8 games against one another,
yeah, that'll be great.
Week and a half of the season. 1-1. Due up for the Atlanta Braves in the top of the 9th. Wally Joyner, Brian Jordan, and B.J. Surhoff. The 4, 5, and 6 hitters. The Braves trailing Arizona 2-0. Joyner drifting into foul territory, has room, and has the ball to win the inning. Nice job by Mulholland. But it's all about Curt Schilling heading to the ninth. Can he go the distance and to throw the shutout at the Braves? Curt Schilling undoubtedly came into this start tonight not knowing what to expect, all pumped up with adrenaline, full of nerves. But boy, did he settle down in a hurry. The Braves had some chances early on, stranded some runners in the first few innings. But lately it's been nothing but this. First pitch fly balls. And here's another one recorded by Gonzalez, who has made 7 putouts tonight, including all 4 at-bats for Wally Joyner.
They pitched him away, and Joyner has lifted it to the left field foul area for his 4th fly out to Luis Gonzalez.
You expect to see Schilling rearing back and throwing fastball after fastball, piling up the strikeouts, piling up the pitch count. He has only 3 strikeouts tonight. One of them when Rafael Furcal tried to bunt his way aboard with 2 strikes on him. Instead, he has taken something off, moved the ball around, and as you said, he out-Maddux Maddux here tonight by getting so many quick outs. Just 1 walk allowed. And now as noisy as it's been here tonight. Brian Jordan strikes out.
Well, he hasn't needed that quick fastball very often, and tonight he saves it for the 9th inning. He goes upstairs to Brian Jordan and blows him away. 61 complete career games. 5 this season if he can wrap this one up.
B.J. Surhoff is the batter. Schilling has set down the last 12 Braves he has faced. Another fly ball to left field, and it's over. What an outstanding performance by Curt Schilling as he pitches in front of the hometown fans as a Diamondback for the first time, and he goes the distance on a 6-hit shutout and moves Arizona back into a first-place tie in the National League West.
Well, he beat a very tough Greg Maddux and an Atlanta Braves team, and you knew it was something special tonight. When Schilling walked down after warming up down in the bullpen, the crowd down the third base line stood, gave him a nice welcome, and he was able to take advantage of some 2-out support. Jay Bell with a 2-out double to drive home 1. Matt Williams a 2-out single to drive home the 2nd run. That's all Schilling would need tonight, and he was outstanding. He really throttled the Braves' attack, and they got timely hitting and a great pitching performance. 2 wins now for the Diamondbacks for Curt Schilling.
In his many starts, beat Florida Friday night down in Florida and shuts out the Atlanta Braves here tonight in Phoenix as the Diamondbacks snack their losing streak and beat the Braves to even up the series at a win apiece. The final score, Arizona 2 and Atlanta nothing. Curt Schilling goes the distance on a 6-hit shutout. More coming up from Phoenix when we come back. But he showed up here at the Bob tonight with great expectations, really just wanting to see the hometown kid, Curt Schilling, come back and put on a big performance here tonight. And boy, did he not disappoint. Curt Schilling joins us after the game, a 6-hit shutout. You said after the game in Florida you were fatigued and you were drained. How did you feel through tonight's game?
I felt better. Stuff-wise, I don't think I felt as good as I felt in the past, but it came. And getting 2 runs in the 3rd, I think, was a huge, huge lift. You always hope to push a couple extra across when you get a lead against Maddux, and you know, I can't say enough about Damian Miller tonight. We were in a real good flow, real good rhythm. Defensively, we did what we had to do, and You know, Tony Womack with 2 outs and nobody on gets us 2 runs. And if we're going to be Western Division champions, we're going to have to do things like that. And he's going to have to run this offense. We're going to hit our home runs, but Tony can mess up a pitcher. And in the 3rd inning, he was the reason we got those 2 runs.
Well, he certainly got things going. Curt, talk about your game plan tonight. You didn't have the good fastball that you had against Florida. Did you come out with the mindset that you were going to use breaking balls to get ahead?
No, you know what? I'm pitching with pretty much the same plan every game. I go over my hitters before the game, and regardless of my fastball, I have the plan that I have going into the game. That doesn't change. You know, if my fastball gets a little bit better as the game goes, I might improvise. But you know, I think I had the best fastball tonight in the 9th inning. When the crowd got on their feet and got going, it got me going a little bit, and that was fun.
Well, not only did the crowd get going, this is a crowd you know. They know you. You're from here. What's it like to be pitching in front of the hometown fans?
It's exciting. I can't, like I said before, it can't be a dream come true because I never could have dreamed it. But you know, I knew coming to the park today the Giants were winning 4-3, and I kind of just, it was the 8th inning, and I figured, you know what, we need to win to stay a game back. And for some reason, I happened to look at the TV as I went to get stretched and saw they had lost, and I got a little jolt. I was pretty excited, thinking this could be a little bit bigger game than it was an hour ago, and yeah, this is what it's all about. We're in a pennant race, and back in tied for first, and you got B.A. throwing great and Randy throwing in the next 2 days. Who knows what we can do in the next couple games, get on a roll.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
great
you.
performance. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Curt Schilling of the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2-0 in 2 starts with the Diamondbacks, 17 innings pitched, 1 run allowed, and a lot of new fans made in an awful hurry here in Phoenix.
Well, you bet. And when you go in and have an impact like this early on, and we have seen this time and time again, you get a pitcher into a pennant race, he raises his level a little bit, but Schilling's been getting better and better. Now, in his last 10 starts, he's 7-2. The ERA drops even lower, under 2. And the big thing about it, this Diamondback team's got a lot of energy right now. They've got Randy Johnson, Brian Anderson, Curt Schilling, Armando Reynoso. They've got a pretty impressive pitching staff.
I think they'll be selling some number 38 jerseys in the team shop here at the Bob, just a few over the next few weeks. An outstanding performance by Curt Schilling. He goes the distance on a 6-hit shutout, and Arizona defeats Atlanta by a final score of 2-0. Don't forget, Sunday night at 8 Eastern over on ESPN, the Atlanta Braves will be in action again against the St. Louis Cardinals. It looks like Kevin Millwood on the mound for Atlanta, and 13-game winner Darryl Kyle will be the starter for the Cardinals. Don't forget, coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern with baseball tonight, and then John and Joe have the action for you from Busch Stadium. Coming up next, it's ESPN2's coverage of the great outdoor games. That's at the top of the hour. ESPN News coming up next. The final score from Arizona, the Diamondbacks 2 and the Braves 0.